Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly considering replacing Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The country's business forum says the political shake-up will weaken Israel. Facebook's parent company banned Russian state media networks from its apps, accusing them of foreign interference activity. The Kremlin calls it unacceptable. Chinese military tails a U.S. aircraft passing through the sensitive Taiwan Strait, with Beijing vowing to resolutely defend its national sovereignty. Gunfire and explosions echo in Mali's capital Bamako as gunmen attack a military police base. The junta calls it an infiltration attempt by terrorists. E-commerce Amazon giant ends its work-from-home policy, asks employees to return to work at company offices 5 days a week, beginning next year. Hello and welcome. Now we begin with updates from North Africa, where Egypt is set to receive a major investment boost from Saudi Arabia. Egypt's Prime Minister Mostafa Madbouly met the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh. The two leaders discussed boosting bilateral ties. The Saudi Crown Prince has directed the Saudi Public Investment Fund, or the PIF, to pump $5 billion worth of investment into Egypt. The Egyptian cabinet called it the first stage of investment. For now, no details have been revealed on when the funds are going to be invested, the nature of investments, or in how many stages Riyadh would make these investments. Egypt is considered vital to regional stability in North Africa and West Asia, so it has often found a helping hand from richer Arab states. Over the past decade, Gulf countries have been a key source of investment for Egypt, which has been reeling under a worsening economic crisis. Cairo also secured a $57 billion global bailout led by the IMF, which helped it narrowly avert a full-blown economic crisis. Now, Saudi and other Gulf nations have also made deposits in Egypt's central bank. The United Arab Emirates provided $35 billion in an investment deal to Egypt. But the Gulf creditors have changed the way they lend support to their North African ally. From handouts and central bank deposits, Gulf partners have shifted toward taking sizable stakes in Egypt's assets. Egypt is battling skyrocketing inflation, leaving millions unable to afford staples. It is also facing a currency crisis and a shortage of foreign currency reserves. While Egypt's crises have been driven by poor governance and policy deficiencies, the COVID pandemic and subsequent wars in Ukraine and in West Asia has exacerbated the problems. Now, earlier this year, Egypt agreed to a number of unprecedented reforms in its IMF agreement. These included reducing the state and the military's footprint in the economy, adopting a flexible exchange rate, and putting stakes in key state enterprises up for sale. However, experts say that the progress on fulfilling these agreements has been slow. Now, this could test the patience of the Gulf nations. However, with West Asia already on edge, and with Cairo a key center for Gaza negotiations, analysts say that Egypt right now is too important to fail. For more on this, we are joined by Dr. Kaku Nama, a professor of international studies at the American University. He is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Alyson.
Now, Professor, what are the primary sectors in Egypt that Saudi Arabia is focusing on for its investments, in your view, and why have these sectors been chosen?
So the sectors that were highlighted in the meeting with the Chamber of Commerce was tourism, agriculture, real estate, and renewable energy. There's a big electricity project that they're working on. But I think it goes beyond that. Egypt wants access to African markets, and Saudi Arabia wants access to African markets, and they think that Egypt can provide that. And also, as you mentioned, there's turbulence in the region, and I think that this money, it's actually a drop in the bucket. 5 billion is for the size of Egypt's economy, is a drop in the bucket. But I think that it is affirmation in terms of the restoration of full relationships between the two countries, and it also shows Saudi pragmatism. And the Crown Prince is pretty much saying we can do business with you going forward.
And how does the recent $5 billion investment pledge by the Saudi Public Investment Fund align with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and Egypt's economic development goals?
So Vision 2030 is about diversifying from fossil fuels, which is what has held the Saudi system going all this while. So they're looking into alternatives that can extend Saudi Arabia's prosperity beyond the oil. And Egypt is a big country with a young population and a lot of needs. It has, as you mentioned, a lot of challenges. And there are a lot of Saudi businesses in Egypt right now. They deal with all kinds of bureaucratic hurdles. And so this is part of it. And as I said, 5 billion is a very small amount of money for the size of that economy, but it gives them leverage in terms of what they can do to support their businesses in there. They are also interested in water treatment plants. And generally speaking, they think that this gives them some kind of entry into the African market. Saudi Arabia has been very active around the continent. And I think Egypt is a very important country for them and also for the entire region. And so we'll see what happens. Eventually, both countries may join the U.S.-led Abraham Accords, and that would open the entire region for trade that would benefit all the countries in the region. But this is a good thing for the Egyptians, if they can get the money, because remember, it's just a pledge. We don't know if the money will actually flow, and I think that it may be part of some broader bargaining scheme, which may involve conflicts and securities in that area as well.
Right. And Professor, how might the Saudi-Egyptian investment protection agreement impact future investments and economic cooperation between the two countries, particularly in the context of, as we've mentioned, the regional stability and, of course, growth?
So the region is going through turbulence, as you can tell. There's transition happening in Iran. There's transition about to happen in Saudi Arabia itself. There might be transition in Israel. For Egypt is in a tough spot because it has to, at the same time, deal with internal problems and then deal with regional problems. The Gaza war has created a huge problem for Egypt. They need to figure out how to navigate all of that. This investment pledge would give them a seat at the table. The Saudis have issues with Egypt. There's all kinds of commercial disputes that they're resolving. And there are a lot of Egyptian SMEs in Saudi Arabia too, who are also dealing with issues over there. So this provides a framework for talking about sustainable trade, but also how to redevelop the region after the wars and after the transition. So it's an invitation to dialogue. If they can get this done, I think the Egyptians are going to try and use this to deal with some of the funding crisis that they're following, because you see drying up of funds from UAE and from China as well for their mega projects. So if the Saudis come fully on board, now I don't know whether that will happen. The crown prince is not always very reliable, but if they can get him to commit fully, this gives Sisi some kind of leverage when it comes to negotiating the future of the region after the wars.
Yes. Professor, thank you for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights and analysis on all the latest out of Egypt.
Thanks for having me.
Shifting focus to Niger, the last remaining U.S. troops have pulled out from the West African nation, months after they were ordered by the Niger junta to do so. Around 1,000 U.S. troops were present in Niger to fight the Islamic terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda and to ISIS, who have waged an insurgency in the region for a decade. But these troops were ordered to exit in April by Niger in an embarrassing setback for the U.S. Niger claimed that the presence of U.S. soldiers was illegal and gave the troops a deadline of September the 15th to withdraw. The process began in May, in phases. Now, first, U.S. forces withdrew from Airbase 101 in Niamey in July, and then from the crucial Airbase 201 in Agadez in August. The expansive Airbase 201 was critical to U.S. counterterrorism operations in the Sahel region. The U.S. military said on Monday that the remaining troops, including the U.S. Africa Command Coordination Element, have also departed, marking the complete withdrawal. Niger used to be a key partner for the U.S. and France in its fight against insurgents in the Sahel region of Africa. U.S. also spent millions of dollars to carry out these operations. But things changed in July last year after Niger military overthrew the democratically elected president Mohammed Bazoum. The new regime in Niger and other military governments in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso have been anti-West. They have kicked out Western troops from their soil, and the three nations have instead forged closer ties with other partners. And these include Russia, which has sent its instructors and military equipment to the armies. Now, the juntas have also tightened relations with Turkey and Iran. The U.S., on the other hand, is now reportedly looking for possible new partners or a plan B in West Africa. U.S. military officials toured parts of coastal West Africa, including Benin and the Ivory Coast, after the Niger ousting. But experts say that the U.S. is not expected to be able to replicate its counter-terrorism footprint in Niger anytime soon. It is also going to face a tough challenge from Russia, which is expanding its influence across Africa. So while instability and extremism grow in West Africa, the region has turned into a geopolitical battleground. Will the US be able to formulate its plan B or continue to face setbacks? Shifting focus to Ghana, the world's second largest cocoa producer has lost more than a third of its output to smuggling. As per Ghana's Cocoa Board, the country lost over 160,000 tons of cocoa to smuggling in the 2023-24 season. Officials say the smuggling losses have more than tripled this year compared to the previous season. The loss is significant as Ghana's cocoa production for the season is projected to be the lowest in 20 years. The decline is attributed to the low local prices and payment delays, which have pushed some farmers to turn to smuggling networks. Smugglers have used various methods, including disguising cocoa in fuel tankers and tipper trucks. Now, cocoa has been trafficked into countries like Togo, Burkina Faso and Mali. The crisis is compounded by weather challenges, diseases and poor harvest. By the end of June, Ghana had produced less than 55% of the average for this point in the previous seasons. In an attempt to address the crisis, the government has announced a 45% increase in the producer price of cocoa for the 2024 to 25 crop season. Now, the policy is also designed to improve the welfare of cocoa farmers as the new season begins. Farmers are hopeful that these measures will help. However, there are concerns that a weakening currency could undermine the price hike. The situation for cocoa producers has worsened since Ghana's economic crisis in 2022, when the currency had fallen by 132%. The depreciation of the currency has further squeezed farmers' margins, forcing them to turn to smuggling. Now, apart from the economic measures, Ghana is also boosting security to tackle the smugglers. Ghana's military will soon join the task force to address the crisis. So far, over 10 individuals have been sentenced to prison terms, ranging from 3 months to 10 years for smuggling. Ghana's cocoa sector accounts for about 10% of the nation's GDP. So battling the smuggling crisis is crucial for the country. And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid the coups and the crises, there are many positive stories from Africa that often get overlooked, but not on this show. Our story today is from Gabon. Now, the recent study in Gabon revealed that gorillas in the Mokalaba-Doudou National Park consume specific plants that are rich in antioxidants and antimicrobials, with one plant even showing potential to fight superbugs. Now, this discovery underscores the intelligence of great apes and highlights the untapped medicinal knowledge in African rainforests. Our final report gets you all the details.
Gorillas have long been secret allies of humankind, especially when it comes to science and medicine. From their behavior to their biology, these majestic apes have provided valuable insights, offering clues that have helped shape various fields of study. Now the spotlight is on them once again as researchers make yet another fascinating discovery in Gabon, Central Africa. It turns out gorillas might be holding the key to the future of medicinal drugs, as they've been self-medicating for years right under our noses. According to a study published in PLOS ONE, researchers in Gabon have made a breakthrough by observing the self-medicating habits of wild gorillas in the Mokalaba-Doudou National Park. These apes have been munching on certain plants, and scientists quickly zeroed in on 4 specific species. After bringing samples to the lab, they discovered that these plants were packed with powerful antioxidants and antimicrobials. To top it off, one of the plants even showed promise in combating superbugs. But gorillas aren't the only source of this medicinal wisdom. Local healers in Gabon have been using the same plants for generations. Among the hundreds of tropical plants found in the area, researchers focused on 4: the fromager tree, giant yellow mulberry, African teak, and fig trees. These trees showed significant antibacterial activity against at least one strain of the multi-drug-resistant bacteria, E. coli. The real superstar, however, was the fromager tree, which demonstrated remarkable effectiveness against all tested strains. In traditional medicine, the bark of these trees has been used to treat a wide range of ailments, from common stomach issues to more complex conditions like infertility. It's almost like nature's own pharmacy. A bark a day may very well keep the doctor away, thanks to the medicinal compounds infused within these plants. Great apes like gorillas have been using plants to self-medicate for ages. They have an uncanny ability to identify which plants have healing properties, showing just how much they have evolved over time. Meanwhile, humans are only scratching the surface of the vast medicinal knowledge hidden in the Central African rainforests. It's a humbling reminder of how much we still have to learn. This study isn't the first time the animal kingdom has displayed remarkable self-care techniques. In May this year, an orangutan in Malaysia made headlines when it was spotted treating a facial wound using chewed leaves and sap from a plant known for its anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving properties. This was the first time a wild animal had been recorded using a medicinal plant to treat an injury. Remarkably, the orangutan fully healed within a month, proving that animals can be their own best doctors in the wild. It's clear that gorillas possess knowledge we could greatly benefit from. Their ability to self-medicate not only highlights their intelligence, but also opens up new doors in our quest for medicinal breakthroughs.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.